Okay, over here we've got our high security, and you know, the Schlage Primus, they really don't have a complete deadbolt setup. So basically this is just a conversion of using this Schlage housing and just simply replacing the cylinder, giving it some high security features. If you want to get into and step your foot into the high security aspect of things for not expensive, for not that much money, this is going to be a good starting point. It'll give you some features like key control, and it'll give you two forms of binding in the lock, which means it has the pins on top, and then it also has a sidebar on the side. And that's kind of what all the rest of these have, is they have multiple features that allow for the locking cylinder to unlock. Like the multi-lock is pin in pin, so there's two sets of pins working in there inside each other to go ahead and operate. Before you can operate this lock Medico, you have to have the top pins aligned, and then when they are properly aligned and rotated, a sidebar drops in, and then with the ASA high security system, it's again two sets of pins, top pins, and a sidebar set of pins. So simply basing, you know, general information off of that, and the terms that I'm using will start to break down. Basically, a sidebar means that there's another side piece in the locking cylinder that has to line up to allow it to fall into that cylinder, make a perfect circle, and allow the cylinder to rotate. Those are incorporated with the top pins on top of the conventional pin tumbler lock, adding the high security features. Now, Kwikset has a sidebar in it. However, the rest of the locking system does not operate off of pins. It operates off of wafers, and it's designed in a you know, a cheap, poorly constructed cylinder, so with plastic inside. So that's why this one has some high security type of features that they tried to do. It was just horribly missing the mark. And the rest of these just operate as a conventional pin tumbler lock with pins on the top, and that's it. You just have the pins in the top and the pins that actually match into the key, and then that's what goes ahead and allows you to reach the shear line and turn the lock cylinder over. I have all these turned out right now. And I just want to explain a few things. We tried to do a cutting test, and the reason this is a different color is because upon trying to do the first cutting test, the bolt actually broke on this the first time, so this is just a replacement. That's why it's a different color. So already Kwikset is kind of showing that they're not at the highest level of quality. There is a hardened bar insert, so this cut basically represents how far I was able to get down before the Sawzall stopped. This was a Sawzall attack. You can see here, and you can see this one definitely has a hardened pin in it. This one has a hardened pin in it. They all have a hardened pin in them, as well as this one here. But the really unique thing is that when we come to the high security locks like the multi-lock and ASA, we did try and cut this, and you can see those marks there, but nothing actually even really dented it at all. We'll go ahead and show you here. We got a Lennox metal cutting blade, and it just doesn't do anything. So what that means is that the steel in the bar here is harder than the steel in the cutting blade, so that is how that happens. So you can obviously see that having the entire bolt made out of hardened steel is going to be far superior, as opposed to only having part of it hardened, just a hardened pin in the middle. So right there, these three are way far out of the league from everybody else. The other feature about the bolt is this ball bearing system, and the multi-lock and the ASA have that. And basically that's meant to integrate into this. I don't know if this is exactly my right one or not, but basically what those do is they catch on here. This isn't the right one, but they catch in this piece and they split apart, and then that would prevent prying the door open. If somebody had a pry bar and was trying to pry past it and force past it, those ball bearings would hold fast into the jamb and not allow the door to open. So only two models have that feature. So that's why ASA, again, this is my rating over here. ASA is going to be the top winner for that. It just has the most features, I think, as far as security is concerned. So let's go over these, and we're just going to put a mark on one of these. For each one that does not pass the test for the particular application here. Lock picking. This one can be picked. This one can be picked. This one can be picked. You can't pick this one very easily, but it gets forced over, and I consider picking to actually be more of a skill than just simply knowing how to use a screwdriver. There's a ton of videos online. You can go ahead and check them out for yourself of the Quickset Smart Key being forced open with nothing but a key blank and a screwdriver. So for that factor, that's going to give this one 2 hits, because that's going to be, it's not pick, you really can't pick it, and you really can't lock bump it, but you can force it over with a screwdriver, which I think is twice as bad as any of the other ones. Primus, Multi-Lock, Medico, ASA, you will see videos of these locks being picked. However, let me tell you that those people that have picked them have spent so much time with that lock that they know it inside and out. They have the cylinder before they make that video, and they spend days or weeks or even months practicing with it and taking it apart and adding pins to it and slowly being able to learn that lock and go ahead and defeat it. So saying that these are pick proof, no lock is pick proof yet, but you will see the least amount of videos of an actual successful lock picking of the ASA V-twin and the ASA 6000 cylinder over any of the rest of these. I've only seen one that I actually believe, in fact, and he said it took a year to do so. He even admitted that it took over a year to be able to pick that lock to that point. So are people going to come up to any of these locks in the field and just pick it right away? No, that is not going to happen. So these do not get a point for picking, because you are not going to go up to these right out of the blue in the field and just go ahead and pick them. So we'll go to lock bumping. So again, they say you can't bump these. You can bump this one and this one. And this one has bumping, anti-bumping pins. I'm going to go ahead and give it a point, but let me tell you that it is very, very difficult to do. I have actually I've practiced with all of these, and I was not successful with being able to actually lock bump this one. But it can be done. The theory behind it is there. With these, no. The Medico, some of the smaller Medico locks have had bumping incidents, so that's kind of why, and picking incidents too. You're going to see a lot of videos out there about these. I have to go off of what I've seen and done. I have not been able to successfully pick one, and I have not been able to successfully lock bump one. So I cannot give it a point for that. 3D printing. Let's talk about 3D printing and keys real quick. Basically, this is going to be the key for a ASA high security cylinder, and you're going to have these indents in the side here, and you're going to have this unique keyway, okay? The 3D printing technology right now does not address those factors, and in the Primus and the Multi-Lock and all these other ones, they have that secondary side bitting or some other form that's very unique and very, very high tolerances. So with the key blanks that you can order online through 3D printing are going to be your common blanks, because somebody's taken the time and programmed a CAD program to go ahead and do that. So that's why you're going to see these out on the market. These keyways, KW, 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 and SC1. Those key blanks are going to be available for 3D printing and people to order them. You can also buy these key blanks at the store. So we've got copying at the store, copying at the store, copying at the store, copying at the store. You cannot get these copied at your hardware store. That is why they're high security. They have extra milling in them. Like this one here, you've got the Schlage Primus, and you've got the extra side milling on the side. So you cannot buy this blank to be able to try and recreate the key. Very tight on there. So these are going to be able to be copied and 3D printed. You're also going to be able to get them copied at the store. Copied at the store, 3D print. And you can also now get these copied at a kiosk. If you have a picture of a key, you could actually send this to somewhere online and have them copy it. That is starting to get pretty scary. How somebody can snap a picture of your key and have a real good idea of what the cuts are on it, like that, and then be able to order your keys to your house online and just have them sent in the mail. Have them 3D printed or have the blanks sent to them. We couldn't cut all the way through the bolt on all of these. These pins can be drilled, so drilling is going to be another attack. People are going to try and drill. This one, and this one are going to get that drill mark, simply because this one is not, because Schlage actually has a anti-drill pin in the cylinder and for the screws. So that's the second drilling option, is actually going to be the drilling for the screws option. Okay? You'll be able to drill for the screws on all of these except for this one and these. Okay? Because this has a hardened plate in here and these have hardened ball bearings. So if you try to drill for the screws, you will not be successful with common hardware store bits. They will all have defense mechanisms for that. Screwdriver force tool. So this one definitely has that. Kick door in. Okay, so people are going to try and kick the door in. These bolts are going to fail long before these three over here. These three have gone through an extra UL lab testing, Underwriter lab testing, to withstand more force than all of these over here, although they do have to have a certain amount of kick resistance from the get-go. Another way that you'd be able to bypass these is with a wrench force tool. You'd be able to just get a wrench and force these open, and these are all going to have that ability to do so. The Schlage does take more precaution in that because they have a cylinder that actually grabs the bolt and doesn't allow that to happen, and it has more hardening and more webbing inside here, whereas these would just be able to be crushed very easily and cammed over very easily. These also are all solid and they're cone shaped, so if you try and get a wrench to grab on here, it's not going to. It's going to be hardened and it's not going to let it bite into it, and it's not going to let it get a hold of it. And it's also, they also have those through anti-ice pick devices that actually grab the bolt that the bolts go through. So that's all going to be stuff that you're going to need to know. And then the hammer. You can beat all these off with a hammer if you try long enough. Basically what's going to happen is the screws are going to break inside, or you're just going to damage it to the point you're basically breaking the screws inside instead of trying to drill them. You're going to cause a tremendous amount of damage, but the job will get done on these, and possibly this one down here too, because you're using the same housings as this one. These ones are so heavy duty, they're not going to cave, they're not going to crush, and the bolts are heavy enough that they're going to withstand much more impact than these over here, to the point that somebody's just going to get tired and actually just go ahead and move on. So these are not going to have those attacks. So now you can actually see why each one of these has its own unique features. Do yourself a favor, do your own research, go online and check out Multilock, Medico, and ASA. See how many picking videos there are on each one. You will be surprised. It'll be roughly in this same order. Same with the Schlage Primus videos and these videos for these locks over here. Also keep in mind that all videos online are not 100% true. If you see somebody pick one of these locks and they don't pull the cylinder apart and show you the pins inside, that is not a successful pick, because you can load these up with one pin and then try and pick it and make a video to be on YouTube. So for more information, check out the website below. Please keep those things in mind and those attack methods when you're actually choosing to purchase your next deadbolt, and go see a local professional locksmith if you're serious about security. Thanks and have a good day.